there's an initiative that was created and launched by two folks over at Google, developed during their 20% time. That's the time that Google allows employees the resources and leeway to work on projects of their own choosing. Gmail, as it happens, was once someone's 20% time project. In any event, what started out as PythonMC and is now called breakbeatcode is one of my favorite intersections of hip-hop, technology, education, and working with youth. Now, I'll let my guests break it down, but I promise, once you hear about it, you'll definitely be intrigued. And once you see it, you might be blown away. Now, I've been honored to keynote and mentor at their events in the past, and wherever I'm in conversation or conducting teacher development workshops, and I'm talking about ways that hip-hop can help level the playing field and increase technology innovation across the board, but most importantly, where it's needed the most, this is one of the first examples that I give. So let's find out more. Here's my talk with Richard Ashe and Calvin Pinney from Google and breakbeatcode. Here we go. Welcome to my two good friends who I've worked with on a number of occasions in regards to the initiative that we're going to talk about tonight, today, depending on when you're watching this. Please, if you would, gentlemen, I've given a little bit of a prelude to who you are and why we're speaking, but introduce yourselves as you like to be presented to the world. I don't like to just read bios. Sometimes that's not how you feel that day. You know what I mean? So please, Richard, start with you.
All right. Hi, everyone. Manny, great to see you again.
Good to see you.
My name is Richard Ashe. I work at Google, and I created something called breakbeatcode all the way back in 2017 to teach coding to students through music production. And I should say I started off creating this curriculum to teach in this little tiny classroom of 10 people. Did that for a while. Then I met my good friend, colleague, and co-founder, Calvin Pinney, who helped me make this way bigger. So, yeah, great to see you.
Yeah, definitely. Calvin, what's up, man?
Hey, what's happening, man? What's happening?
Good to see you.
I know you got the Yankees hat, but I'll give you a pass being up here in Boston, the Red Sox city, you know what I mean? But like,
we're going to cut that. We're going to play one of these. Wrong answer. But it's good. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Calvin Pinney, I also work at Google and fellow co-founder with Richard for breakbeatcode. And, I got an interesting story. I started off as a coding coach, and then kind of like what Richard said, when we teamed up, one of the first events that I did was back home in my hometown in the Virgin Islands. As a matter of fact, that's I brought, Manny, we teamed up to do that. And that generated quite a bit of excitement to the point where I started, there's some people at Google that heard about it that was from the Virgin Islands that told me like, hey, wait, how do you not reach out to me? How could I get involved, right?
Yeah.
So it started to spread like wildfire. I come from a background, I love music. Started playing, started messing around with Fruity Loops, Ableton, all of that stuff. So I just thought it was like a really cool program to not only learn and teach other students, but to be able to like expand it as it relates to, to STEAM and STEM curriculum. So,
yeah, it's actually, okay. So this sits at this perfect world or the perfect storm of technology, music production, programming, and, pedagogy, teaching, especially aimed at young people. It's the perfect thing for that, mixture. Which is why I love it so much. And let's take it back. Obviously, we knew each other for a long time. Richard, you've been on before. You've explained this. But for anybody tuning in or watching now for the first time becoming this, let's take it to the basics. What does breakbeatcode consist of? How does it work? What does it look like in practice, if you could? Just, the rundown.
Yeah. And so breakbeatcode started off with me teaching myself Python, listening to hip hop. I was actually listening to The Choice Is Yours by Black Sheep.
Right.
And for everyone who remembers that, it's old enough to remember that, it starts off this and that, this and that. It actually sounds a little bit like code, like if this, then that. Right. And so then when I say I did research, I literally Googled hip hop teaching coding, user production, and I found this thing called Earsketch. Earsketch, yeah. So Georgia Tech created this amazing tool, which basically is a digital audio workstation, the same kind of thing that like Pharrell or any of these producers will use. And normally, though, they'll use something like Ableton or FL Studio or Logic or any of these professional music production software tools,
Right.
and they'll point, click, drag, drop like you normally would. The difference with your sketch is students can write code to do the same things. So instead of pointing and clicking, they're writing some instructions actually in a programming language called Python, which is one of the most popular programming languages in the world. It's used by any company out there. It's used by, NASA. It's used by everyone. And using a little bit of Python code, literally like 5 lines of code, students with no coding experience, no music experience, within less than 30 minutes will start writing code to remix music tracks. And I'm not just talking like generic MIDIs, like just keyboard sounds. It's actually like keys.
Casio keyboard.
Yeah.
Tick, tick, yeah.
Yeah, like no offense to that, but like
right.
But it's like
sorry, Casio.
Sorry, Casio.
Sponsor the show. Don't take it personal.
Yeah, big up to Casio. But the Air Sketch, what they did was they did all these deals with Alicia Keys, Common, Pharrell, Jay-Z. All these artists have said, "Great, take my sounds, upload it to your platform, let the students remix them. They can even publish them in SoundCloud." We always say, don't try to monetize them because that is Jay-Z, and Jay-Z's got some lawyers. But apart from that, you can actually put your stuff out there in the world without any, with very little training. Next thing you know, you're an artist engineer. That's ultimately what we're trying to do. We're trying to inspire students to become artist engineers, to combine, as Calvin was saying the other day, combine the left brain, right brain. Because we really think if you're an engineer today, if you're like a computer programmer who's just staring at a screen and that's what you think you're going to do for 10 years, it's probably not what your job's going to look like. You're going to need to be a lot more creative. And if you think you're an artist who just is going to avoid technology, which I don't think many artists do, but I think there's an opportunity right now in particular to really embrace some of the things we're seeing in AI. Artists will also become now more technical, I think, in many ways. And you're already seeing that. You're seeing it happen right now. And it's really exciting. And so that's what we're trying to do, create these artist engineers, inspire the next generation tech leaders.
Yeah. Calvin, what's your perspective on this? Again, coming from someone, I guess not more, but from the music side, or having that, that DNA, music production and that kind of stuff. What's your take on the initiative and how it's worked out?
Well, I'll tell you this, one thing I like about it is, and what we found when we started going into different parts of the world with this program, is that one thing that's central to each culture, no matter if you're in New York, Jamaica, Nigeria, Kenya, is music, right? So the thing about music is that it's relatable no matter where you are in the world. And to add that part with coding, it just makes it just lowers the floor and it makes it more engaging for the students to want to participate, right? Because sometimes, back when I was growing up, you kind of get laughed at and picked at as oh, what, you're in the computers, you're doing blah, blah, blah. But now we have a cool factor where not only are you doing computers, you're actually doing something with music. So at the same time, you get to make something cool so you could have that extra, what we call a payoff, right? Because typically when you're learning coding, you learning, little exercises and how to, create a palindrome, or you have these little basic, computer puzzles, right?
Hello world.
Right. Exactly. You know what I mean? So it's you give that to someone who's anyway. And the thing is, we mainly focus on students between 12 to 18, but we expanded it to quite a larger audience. And it's definitely took off to the point where, you have something that's engaging, something that's easy to use, and it's a beginning stage for you to, okay, well, hey, I could feel comfortable doing something like this, coding and playing music. Maybe I want to look at other careers in tech. So coming from me, from my background, music, of course, everyone wants to grow up to be an artist, right? And then everybody wants looking at sports, hey, how could I become get into sports? Well, now you're opening up the toolbox a little bit, right? You could be an artist, but you could also be an engineer, right?
Right.
You could also use this coding to get to something else. So that's what really, that's what really got me excited about this program, because this is just the beginning, right?
Right.
And we're what Richard said, when it comes to AI, we're getting to that place where pretty much we're going to be able to automate a lot of the stuff that we do. Matter of fact, we're starting to use what's called NLP, natural language, where you could just use your natural language and just tell the computer what to do, and you'll have it done. So, yeah. I mean, I'm like just super excited at where we're at right now with the program, and just and I can't wait to see where it goes from here.
I've seen this in action. As you know, I helped facilitate a couple of the local workshops back in Newark, New Jersey, Brick City, where I used to reside for a bit. And of course, I rock with y'all, and I've I've been at some of these events. I have said unequivocally, you can look up my social. I've talked about it online. That to see a young person who probably never thought of this as even a thing, right? They didn't even know this was a thing you could do. That you don't think about it. We don't think about it, much less like a 14, 15-year-old kid who's like, I got to go to this program at the library or at the whatever. My mom wants me to go. But they're like, I like music. I like, computers. So, maybe, and they, and then in less than, like I said, maybe in half an hour, but by that end of that, like 2-4 hour session, not only have they obviously have the basics of computer programming, which is crazy on its face. They've made this music. They've made these tracks. They've created sequences and layers of music, and they're loving it. And inevitably, it's when can I do this again? When is the next thing? Yeah. So I just wanted to emphasize that y'all are like telling me what you do, but I've seen it, and you're not paying me. I could be lying through my teeth. I've seen it work. It's an amazing thing. So. Since we've talked last, since you've done it, obviously, we were through pandemic, we were doing them remote. Now I guess we're back to doing them in person again. But just through the course of the initiative, I want to know two things. One, Calvin, you hinted at like how it's changed or how you've expanded it, right? So that I'd like to know about. And then, and before that, I guess ultimately I want to say what examples or anecdotes or, premier experiences have you seen come out of this, especially when it comes to young people, especially when it comes to young people who have traditionally not been given opportunities in tech or in STEM, from underprivileged communities, under-resourced communities, underloved communities. That's some of the focus of the program as well. So what are some ways that you guys get to brag about it too and say, oh man, I've seen it work and this is why?
Why don't you go for it, Calvin?
Yeah, as far as places where we'd be able to take this program to, of course, I talked about my hometown, the Virgin Islands, but we're able to partner with one of our, I would say, strategic partners, Orphan Starfish, where we're able to take this program to, Jamaica, Haiti, and indigenous populations in North America. And then from there, we were able to take the program into to Kenya, Ghana, and Nigeria. And, what I found with taking, this program to those parts of the world is that, the students is just like a certain level of excitement that they come and they have no idea, like, hey, what am I getting into? Especially when you're like partnering with some of the, organizations. They're like, wait a minute, what are we doing? We're going to make music. We're going to code and we're going to do it online. And it's like, I could just, you just have this nervous energy as you're just getting ready to plan this. But then, once you have, once we just pair up in small little groups, it's the amazing thing about it. And what I saw is that, we talk about music, the music side, which is the creative side, right? But another part that we see is the collaboration, because you're able to have students collaborate and work together in teams, and they start teaching other students on how to, on like just the basics of coding, right? Because it's one thing with me as the instructor telling students like, okay, well, you need to do this, this, and that. Right. But to have a pair that could actually like help people together in a group, that's what we saw. That's amazing. And the next thing too is just, building basic computational skills, right? So from, like you said, right, like the pandemic, they've definitely given us the opportunity to kind of scale remotely, right? But then, and then Richard, we're able to do it to a larger audience in Canada, and I can have Richard talk about that to where, the vision for us is kind of like where we're at right now, to where we could do like these in-person events as long as offering like a virtual option, because we want to be able to reach 1.5 million people by end of 2025, right? Which is a very ambitious goal, and we're making strides to get there, and we're doing a really good job. I know I talked about, where we've expanded, but also the volunteers. So I was able to have, so it's funny, I went to St. Thomas to actually speak about the Breakbeat Code program, and the local government, they reached out to me to do for us to partner with the Boys and Girls Club, which we did an event for. And I was able to recruit some volunteers from the University of the Virgin Islands. And I've had people that remember us from the events that we did, that reached out to me and said like, hey, because you helped me because I volunteered with the program that you guys did, I was able to put that on my resume as a volunteer effort to get into a cybersecurity company, right? It's valedictorian that went to UVI, right?
Awesome.
And then, so at those moments, just like, you get you super excited, because it's not only the students, it's even the volunteers that come in to help out with the program. So going back, that's what really gets me energized. And we're hearing the stories day by day. The day by day, the stories keep coming to us as far as like how we're creating impact through the program. So yeah.
But Rich, I know you're going to cut in. I just want to say, Calvin, I'm sorry you have to go to such like unexotic places to do this work. It must be a drag.
Yeah, man, it's like, that's the toughest part of my job,
Going back to USVI again.
Yeah.
So, I was just going to add on top of what Calvin was saying. And by the way, I didn't actually hear that story about the volunteer. That's amazing.
That's
Calvin's mentioned, like, we brought this to Canada. And so we partnered with an organization called, they're now called Collogics. They were called Cobblestone. And they're like, hey, we're going to bring this out to a bunch of schools around the Canada. I was like, okay, cool. We got used to doing kind of 50-person, 20, 100-person events. And we're like, okay, cool. How many people are going to log in? Oh, about 50, 60, 70 participants. Cool. It's like, but those are teachers. It's actually going to be 25 students a class. So next thing you know, we're doing like 1,000, 2,000 person events. It's really cool because it's like we're live streamed in the classroom. And in education, they talk about having a guide on the side. And basically the idea is like the teacher doesn't have to be proficient in that thing that you're teaching right now. They just need to do the real hard work of teaching, which is like managing the classroom and asking open questions and doing all that finessing. And we just live stream the experience, and then they give us feedback through chat. So that was like a big thing that allowed us to scale. The other thing is like teaching teachers. And Calvin mentioned that we started off looking at like at 12 to 18 years old.
Right.
But then we had all these schools coming to us and saying, actually different organizations, I should say, and they're like, well, actually, what about adults? And like, there's nothing stopping adults from learning. It's just not where we're focused today. We have limited resources. Like, well, teach our teachers, and then we'll teach those adults. And so one of them was the World Food Program. And so the World Food Program, a lot of people don't know, they actually have a massive investment in education, particularly for refugees.
Mm-hmm.
And so they said, train our trainers, and we're just going to go and take this and run with it. And they end up teaching thousands of students. And like we trained them 6 months later, checked in, and they're like, Rich, you have no idea. You've changed lives. And I was like, well, I didn't do a whole lot. I just trained you. You're the ones that did the real work.
Right.
But these people went on to be inspired to like take on further education, get certifications to fast track their careers in tech, which is incredibly inspiring.
Yeah, well, I said brag about it. Yes, sure did, man. That's impressive. Okay, why are we here today? Let's talk. Let's get to that. I want to make sure that we make this is great. This is ongoing. You'll tell me about what's long-term, medium to long-term plans, but also you have something specific coming up that we wanted to bring attention to. Tell me about this.
Thank you. So on December 16th, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., you can join us for a free half-day hackathon event. This one's really special. This is similar to what we did with you, Manny, way back in the day. Mm-hmm. There's a few big surprises here, which we're going to spoil as we speak right now. Let's go to breakbeatcode.com. So breakbeatcode, and you'll put it in the post, I'm sure.
There'll be something fancy right here.
One of those thingies. And you go there and you can sign up. It's free. Join us from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern online, this live stream event. What we're going to have there, we're going to have a hackathon. You're going to get hands-on experience, learn how to code, remix music. And then the GOAT of freestyle hip-hop, Supernatural. is going to join us as a special guest.
Dope.
And he is going to be rhyming to their beats. Okay, so students are like code some beats. We're going to pass it over to DJ Siege, our resident DJ. Supernatural is going to come on stage. He's been at our previous event. It was amazing. And he's going to come back to us again. We're super excited. And then we're also going to do a demo of something that Google did with Lupe Fiasco called Text Effects. So one of our creative engineers, our creative technologist, a guy named Aaron Wade, is joining us. He's just an amazing person. And basically, it is generative AI for rap. And so, and he's going to demo that. Okay. And a couple of our participants will walk away with new DJ equipment. So we're going to give away Hercules DJ controller. It's like one that you could hook up to your smartphone. Like
I use a Hercules controller. It's good stuff.
Nice. Yeah. And then grand prize that we're going to give away is a Pioneer Serato limited edition gold.
Ooh. Nice.
Yeah. We just found out about 2 hours ago we're doing that. So,
nice. Good timing. Yeah. I'm glad we waited a day to do this.
There you go.
That's super dope. One of the things we didn't mention before, but that always happens after the events is that performance add-on, right? So kids make the beats, they're dope, they share them or collaborate a lot of times, pass them around, everyone's kind of listening and, but then it turns into, as we've done in the past, sort of a dance party later on. The DJ will collect all the beats and start rocking them. And you see the payoff, as you mentioned. That's one of the important factors to this whole thing.
Absolutely. And the students are going to be able to just, we're going to have they're going to submit a form, they're going to share their code. If they submit, then they join the raffle for the prize.
That's dope.
And then, real time, we'll be remixing them with DJ Sheets. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. It's a super fun experience. Yeah.
So, okay, dope. That's the short term. That's what's happening now. Let me ask you a question before I ask you about the long-term plans and kind of, as you touched on, but like where you want this to go. And more importantly, anyone who feels connected or touched by this or interested in this, how they can also maybe get involved. I'm sure you mentioned teachers, you mentioned volunteers. What does that process look like if someone was like, I'd like to be one of your teachers, I'd like to be one of your volunteers? What do you look for? How does it work? And what do people need to know to be able to get involved?
Yeah, so anyone can just reach us on breakbeatcode.com, hit contact us. We will respond immediately with all the resources you need as a teacher. So we have self-paced training. You'll be able to join our Google group to get into the distribution list. And we're just going to give you the curriculum for free. Right. Now, what we'd love to see you do is take that and remix it and make it your own. We've seen some people do some really awesome stuff. We have a club in Pittsburgh called Assemble. First great example of this. They integrated our curriculum with their history of house music. And they made that their own. So we'd love people to just remix it. Everything we're offering is free. And we also do regular train the trainer events as well. So just reach out to us.
And just to add what Richard is saying too, right? Like you could, if you have a creative idea, actually one of my coworkers, she was thinking of, because she helped us with an event that we did in Atlanta. And she wants to become a coach because she wants to start teaching the local churches, right? She just wants to see how she could get like groups of people in the local churches to actually teach this curriculum to, right? She could just turn it into her own. So, you could do it on your own if you want to learn how to become a coach, and then potentially, we have events that that we're running, so you could get plugged in that way. Or say that if you want to learn so you could teach your kids or teach some family relatives this program as well, it's very accessible, right? So we keep it a low floor so people could get access to it and hop on board.
If you're me and have a whole bunch of kids, then you actually kill both. You could do both because you get to teach your kids and teach a lot of people at the same time. What are you partnering with schools? K through 12 actual schools, and if not officially, how can teachers who are interested in using hip hop to get kids engaged in STEM, kind of work that into their curriculum or work that into their everyday teaching procedures? Is that something y'all do or think about or help with?
Yeah, that's a great question. So anyone can just take the curriculum and remix it. We are, like to your point, really inspired to see the fact that hip hop's being integrated into education in all sorts of interesting ways, very obviously Hamilton, but Hamilton wasn't like a isolated phenomenon. That's been happening around the U.S. and high schools all around the country, where people are taking hip hop to teach math, to teach history, to create cultural awareness, to like really integrate all sorts of disciplines. So yeah, I mean, if people want to join the conversation with us, we love hearing those stories and love the opportunity to be a part of that in any way.
Yeah. And like you said, they can, if they want to take it upon themselves, grab the curriculum, see what people have been doing already, and try to work that into their own operations, I guess you'd call it. Yeah. Let's think bigger real quick but at the end, I'm going to ask you to tell me where we're going with this in the future, big picture, but I want to get y'all opinion on this, since you're working in the intersection of arts and technology and you work for some company, whatever. AI, you mentioned it, you touched upon it, you talked about it. There's a lot of interesting possibilities with art and hip hop and lyricism and songwriting and the Beatles and, all these things that are happening. What's your general opinion, perspective, being, in the seats of, in the seat of the technological powerhouse, and also touching it like in the arts and working with these programs one-on-one? What do you think overall? Yeah. It's just a wide open-ended question.
Yeah.
AI and the arts.
AI and the arts. So there's some interesting things happening with AI. There's obviously the concern around ownership of content, and if AI is like sort of repurposing someone's work in ways that they shouldn't, perhaps. Quite frankly, I think actually AI is the new sampling. So in some ways, like we're in the post-sampling world. Obviously, we went through all of the different things that had to happen for us to kind of work through how we could sample in the right way. I think AI is at the beginning of that process, where they're trying to figure out like, how's AI actually going to, help create great music while at the same time respecting artists. And that's the tricky thing I think they're figuring out right now. So taking that element aside, there's this other side of it where AI can just bootstrap any workflow. So it could be whether you're a lawyer, whether you're a doctor, whether you're a rapper, right? And if you look at how a lot of producers, they spend a lot of time just clicking beats, clicking sounds, and like they spend hours and hours. Rappers will just like kind of create 10x the amount of content they actually ever put out there in the world, because they have to just keep iterating. Yep. And like some of the sort of more forward-looking artists right now, they're looking at AI as a way to collaborate, saying like, hey, I'm going to do version 1, right? I'm going to give you a prompt. You're just going to spit out my first version of my track, my sound, my video, whatever it is. And I think that's the opportunity. That's seeing AI as like a collaborative partner. Cal, what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree with the collaborative partner aspect of it, because when people think about AI, it's almost the worry or the fear that, it's going to replace, where people fit as far as, certain roles or in the workplace. And then you think about it, Richard touched on one thing, is that, we definitely need to kind of figure out like how we could have like some governance around rights around the type of, lyrics or the copyrighted material that's out there. Voices. You got people out there like even saying like, wait a minute, but that sounds like Tupac, but that ain't Tupac, right. So, but one thing that I'm really excited about when it comes to the AI is I feel like it's going to democratize some things in music, like as far as like beat making, right? For example, I know that there's this one large language model called Music LLM, where you could pretty much in natural language, you could just type kind of like ChatGPT. You could say like, hey, I want this sound, I want that sound. I think those are the type of cool things that are starting to come out. So it's to the point where we're going to have to start teaching people what's very popular now is prompt engineering. So you're going to have to learn on like, hey, how can you communicate in like real language to the computer so you could tell it exactly what you want it to do?
Get the best results.
Right. Like I'm here talking about using Fruity Loops, doing all this stuff. But hey, some kid is probably going to be like, wait, what are you guys doing? Like trying to do all, I'm just giving instructions. I'm just telling the computer to do tell a dot what I want, So that's the exciting. Yeah. So that's exciting. I'm not saying like we're going to go all that way with AI, but it's kind of interesting. But we have to like, I think that Richard and we're in an interesting place where we could innovate and kind of play with some of that type of technology, especially with the groups that we're working with. Right. So, so yeah, I'm really excited to see how we could incorporate that element, as we talk. Like one of the biggest things when it comes to AI right now is multimodal models. So that's multimodal is pretty much you have vision, you have audio, which that's what we're doing, music, and then you have text, and then you have videos, right? So it's almost like how you could use natural language to generate those type of mediums. So
yeah, multimodal. I know you don't have to explain it, but I'm glad you did
for the audience, right? But yeah, I'm looking at Manny,
of course, multimodal. Come on, of course. Oh, this is elementary stuff.
Yeah, I just learned this stuff last week, so I'm just learning as I go.
I could definitely see like the sessions, the initiative as being sort of a training ground, like I don't treat kids as guinea pigs, but the best creators are the young folk that don't have any preconceived notions about what I'm supposed to use, and they're gonna find some way to to use these kind of things in a way that we've never imagined, and that's still a human input. Yeah, it's still, you can't like just say, okay, computer, make me a song. Sure, it'll do it. I've seen it. I've seen the raps that it can make, and it's like my mom can write a rap like that. You know what I mean? Like it's fine, but the intricacies of human thinking and putting for to say, hey, computer, do it like this, but also like this. That's still a creative input. So you're still going to get a creative output, and it's not going to ruin. I don't think I'm being optimistic, but I don't think it's going to ruin any art form, particularly any music art form or music genre.
Yeah,
that's how I feel.
I agree, and I think you're going to see a lot of generic stuff get automatically generated.
We see generic stuff now.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of like when I think like any of this new technology, when DAWs were first created, some of the early music production software, you've seen this, Manny, like each generation of this look like a huge shortcut. Right. And if you're an old school DJ, you could probably argue that's true for a lot of things, but also like really opened up opportunities for a lot more people to like get into it, start creating. Like it lowered the barrier to entry.
I gotta tell you, Serato stems is the greatest thing that came across the DJ platform in a long time. I'm 100% with it.
But Richard, you bring up a good point, man, because I remember my boys, like back when he was DJing, everyone would be like, oh yeah, you're DJing on vinyls, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, use CD turntables, and the new guys that use the CD turntables, people are like talking about like, wait a minute, you gotta use vinyls, you gotta learn on vinyls. Then now you have to
carry the crates up and down the stairs.
Man, dude, I can remember so many times like carrying like plenty of freaking crates just so I could get in free with my boy that's DJing, you know what I mean? But it's just like, now I'm like, wait, but why do we have to do that? I could just walk with a CD book. But now it's to the point where, guys, I got Serato. And it's like, you just look at this like natural progression of where things are going. It's really excited to work with the students that we're working with, because they're thinking like, hey, there's some new ways of how we could go ahead and create music, especially as it relates to AI. So yeah.
Yeah. And again, just leveling the playing field a little bit. I get that it makes it easier, and then so everyone can do it. I mean, but that's sort of always been the case with new technologies as it's gotten better, and better and better. When we were able to, burn a CD, now all of a sudden we're record labels, burning songs and making our own mixtapes, and we could buy the one copier, like the 1-to-1 CD recorder copier, and now we're slanging CDs. Like, no, we're not. Doesn't mean we're DJ Who Kid. You know what I mean? We were just like experimenting with what was available to us, and I don't think it ruined the music business. Certainly not that in of itself at all. So I look forward to it. What I guess now we'll get to it. Now we'll lay it out. What is the big picture for breakbeat code for the future? The 1.5. I don't think that's ambitious enough. You should just go to 2. Just make it 2. Let me get 2 million.
Just up.
Yeah. Come on. This is my. Again, who am I? I mean, I'm just a guy that knows about multimodals. You know what I mean? I'm not. So don't take.
Calvin. Yeah. So Manny called us out. Yeah, totally. So 2 million. There you go. That's the goal. Right. So Calvin and I are now co-founding what's now going to be called breakbeatcode Inc. It's a nonprofit. So we started off as what we call a 20% time project at Google.
Right.
Which like Gmail, that was a 20% time project. It's like, hey,
Wow.
you can take some of your time, go like invest it in creating something innovative with like uncertain payoff. And like, that's where I started back in 2017. And then now we're like, Calvin and I agreed sometimes or earlier this year, like, hey, like this, like the only way we're going to get to that number is to scale it. We got to scale beyond like, you know, our shoestring self-funded budget. So that's where we're kicking off. So we officially registered and we're going through all the 501c3 admin, and people will be able to click donate now, hopefully early next year.
And it's very dope. What do you think that opens up for you besides, like, so, you know, again, scalability, just adding more, you know, components, more people, more places?
Yeah, I think it's what we're seeing. There's, you know, obviously polishing everything that we do, like curriculum and like being able to hire people to do that better and better. I think also like, and the hackathon is a great example. Like it's really just the beginning of creating these experiences. And what we're going to do on a regular basis of have these like large kind of Big Ten virtual events where like we're not just going to teach the curriculum, which is awesome. Right. We're also going to teach teachers. We're also going to bring in inspirational speakers, which, Manny, you were the very first one we ever had. And we're going to start doing that at scale and in like various ways. And so for this event, for example, we're going to have a bunch of interviews with some people in the industry, some of our colleagues at Google who are going to tell their stories. And these are people that are representing exactly the students we're trying to reach. So a diverse group of like artists, engineers, entrepreneurs who have super inspirational stories to tell. So that's like bringing that to the next level is how do we teach and inspire at scale.
And make it an experience. Yeah. Experiential, all that good stuff. I am an eternal fan. I will eternally spread the gospel. I will be involved in any way that I can ever. And I thank you guys for telling me what you've been up to lately. It's been a minute since we talked. Anything else that y'all want to, you know, share or put out there that I haven't asked you about?
Yeah, just once again, join us December 16th, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. If you join us and if you get into it and if you share your work, you like write some code, remix a track, share it, you will join a raffle to get that Pioneer limited edition Serato DJ controller and Hercules DJ controllers. And it's free, open, and we just want to share this with as many people as possible.
What age range do you think is best for that? It's wide open, right?
Wide open. We've seen students as young as 8, 9 years old, and then
that's what's up.
Adult learners, as old as you and I, Manny.
I love it. I love it. I will hobble to the computer and give it a shot. It's a great program. I've seen it in action. I'm sure it's only gotten better since, you know, I worked on it. I'm excited to see what happens. I'll try to pop in on Saturday. If not, please let me know anytime you have something going on. You know, I got the newsletter, you know, I got this show. I will let people know whenever they can be involved in something like this. And, you know, obviously, whenever you need me in the Virgin Islands, just let me know. I'll see if I can.
Just don't come with that Yankees. You know what? Actually, there's a lot of, there's some Yankee fans in St. Thomas, but yeah.
Okay with you?
Bro, I'll wear whatever you tell me to wear.
You know?
So yeah, man. So I appreciate it. Thank you again for joining me, and stay in touch, and we'll continue to, like I said, spread the gospel about whatever y'all are doing.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Thanks, man.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Peace and love.
Yep.
Many faces. You sick for this one. Sick for this one. Sick for this one. Sick.